The hidden energy stealers disguised as your own thoughts. Have you ever noticed how a thought can enter your mind so quietly that you never think to question it? One moment, you're making coffee, answering a message, driving home, doing something completely ordinary. And then suddenly, a sentence appears inside you. You're falling behind, you're not good enough. Something is going to go wrong. No announcement, no warning. It doesn't introduce itself as an intruder, it speaks in your voice. And because it sounds familiar, you accept it. Because it sounds familiar, you give the thought a chair. Maybe you even pour it a drink. 10 minutes later, your shoulders are tighter. Your breathing has changed. Somehow, a perfectly normal day feels heavier than it did before. Most people assume every thought passing through the mind belongs to them. Why wouldn't they? Nobody really teaches you to question the ownership of thought. You're taught to manage your schedule, your money, your relationships, your body. But rarely are you taught to guard the doorway of your attention. So thoughts arrive, and instead of being treated like visitors, they're treated like instructions. A fearful thought arrives, and suddenly fear becomes reality. A bitter thought appears, and an old wound gets reopened. A thought whispers, "Nothing ever works for you." And before long, your mind begins gathering evidence like an obedient servant trying to prove its master correct. Strange, isn't it? A single sentence can quietly change the emotional weather inside you without you realizing when the storm actually began. Some spiritual traditions describe recurring influences as thought forms, patterns of mental and emotional energy that become stronger through attention. You don't have to decide whether you see them as literal energetic forms, subconscious patterns, collective conditioning, or simply habits of mind. The practical question is more important. What happens when a thought repeatedly takes your energy, lowers your state, and convinces you that it is you? Because once you understand that not everything appearing in your awareness deserves your agreement, something begins to shift. A clever thief doesn't usually arrive banging pots together and announcing, "I've come to steal from you." The dangerous ones understand camouflage. They learn the rhythms of the house. They wait for the lights to go out. Negative thought patterns work in much the same way. They rarely feel foreign. They attach themselves to something already tender inside you. An insecurity, an old rejection, a fear you've carried for years. Then they speak through it. See? You knew people couldn't be trusted. You're going to embarrass yourself again. That's what makes these thoughts effective. They don't always attack. Sometimes they negotiate. Don't bother trying. You're tired anyway. Why risk rejection? Stay where it's safe. Once you accept the invitation, your emotional state begins to follow the thought. You think something fearful, your body tightens. And because your body now feels fear, the fearful thought suddenly seems more convincing. Then another arrives, and another. Pretty soon, you're not simply having a thought anymore, you're living inside an entire atmosphere created by it. Think of standing in a room where someone slowly turns down the lights. At first, you barely notice, a little dimmer, then a little more. Eventually, you're sitting in darkness, wondering when the room changed. Most draining mental spirals happen exactly like that, rarely all at once. Usually, it's one accepted thought at a time, one moment of comparison, one replayed insult, one imagined disaster, one sentence of self-rejection. And because each moment feels small, you don't notice the atmosphere changing until you're already inside it. Here's where the idea of an energy stealer becomes useful. Anything that continuously pulls your attention toward fear, shame, resentment, helplessness, obsession, or self-rejection is taking something valuable from you. Focus, vitality, imagination, emotional space. Call it a thought form if that language resonates with you. Call it conditioning if it doesn't. Either way, notice the pattern. The thought doesn't simply want to pass through, it wants engagement. It wants you rehearsing the argument in the shower, replaying the insult at night. predicting disasters that haven't happened. Attention becomes food. You replay the argument while trying to sleep. You imagine what you should have said. You build imaginary conversations with people who aren't even in the room. You predict disasters that haven't happened and then react emotionally, as if they already have. The mind can rehearse a painful future so vividly that the body responds to an event that exists only in imagination. And the more you rehearse it, the more familiar it becomes. Familiarity can feel like truth, even when it isn't. Anger at the process doesn't necessarily free you either. Fighting a draining thought with panic can become another form of attachment. Now, you're not only afraid, you're afraid that you're afraid. You're not only thinking negatively, you're furious at yourself for thinking negatively. Same room, different wallpaper. A more powerful move is surprisingly quiet. Recognize what's happening without kneeling before it. A thought has entered. My energy changed after I engaged with it. I don't need to continue. No drama, no war, just awareness. Awareness changes the relationship because a pattern that survives through unconscious participation becomes weaker once you can see it clearly. And once you can see it, you're ready for the question that changes everything. If every thought isn't automatically you, then who is the one noticing them? That question creates space. The thought may still appear, the emotion may still rise, but something deeper becomes visible, the awareness observing the thought. You are no longer completely inside the experience, you are witnessing it. There's an old image found across many traditions, a guarded gate. Cities once had them, temples had them. Sacred places had thresholds because people understood something simple. What enters a space eventually influences what happens inside it. Your mind deserves the same respect. Imagine your attention as a beautiful inner courtyard, not empty, not sterile, but alive with ideas, memories, plans, questions, and intuition. At the entrance stands a guard. Your guard doesn't panic whenever someone approaches. It simply asks one powerful question: who are you? The skill you're building is not controlling every thought. It's learning to meet thoughts consciously. A thought arrives, you're not enough. The old version of you might have opened the gate immediately and replied, "You're right." But the guard now asks something different. Is this useful? Is it true? Does following it make me clearer, stronger, kinder, or more capable of meeting reality? You don't have to wrestle with the thought for an hour. Sometimes the most powerful response is simply refusing to give it permission. Another thought appears. You're going to fail. Instead of building a courtroom around it, you might say, maybe things won't go perfectly, but fear isn't a prophecy. Gate closed. Another arrives. Everyone is judging you. Your guard looks at it for a second and almost smiles. Interesting story. No evidence required, apparently. Gate closed again. You are not required to believe every prediction your mind produces. A possibility is not a fact. A feeling is not automatically a forecast, and fear is not a prophecy. Your emotions can help you notice when something has slipped past the gate. Think of them less as enemies and more like smoke detectors. Anxiety, shame, grief, anger, or heaviness don't automatically mean something is wrong with you. Sometimes those emotions are appropriate responses to real circumstances. But when your emotional state suddenly drops, become curious. What were you thinking 30 seconds ago? What sentence were you repeating? What imaginary future did you just enter? Often you'll discover a thought you accepted without realizing it. Awareness shines a flashlight into the room, and once the light comes on, the monster under the bed usually becomes easier to inspect. You can ask, what exactly am I believing right now? Where did this thought come from? Is it based on what is actually happening, or am I replaying something old? You don't need perfect answers. Curiosity itself creates distance. Instead of being swallowed by the thought, you begin studying it. And what you can observe, you can eventually choose how to respond to. Most importantly, thoughts are offers, not commands. Picture yourself walking through an enormous market where every stallholder is calling your name. One offers fear, another offers comparison. Over there is resentment, polished beautifully and sold as justice. Across the aisle, someone is handing out old memories for free. You don't have to taste everything just because someone places a sample in your hand. You can say no, you can keep walking, you can choose another stall, maybe courage, maybe patience, maybe simply let's see what actually happens before deciding the worst. That choice sounds almost too ordinary to be powerful, but that's where your freedom has been hiding, not in controlling every thought that appears, but in becoming more deliberate about which thoughts receive your attention. You don't have to make your mind perfectly positive. You don't need to eliminate every uncomfortable thought. You simply need to stop treating every thought as an authority. A thought can knock, you can listen, you can question it, and then, if necessary, you can let it leave without following it. Sometimes, when the mind is already caught in a loop, thinking alone isn't enough. Trying to think your way out of a mental spiral can feel like trying to put out a kitchen fire by holding a committee meeting beside the stove. Your mind is already inside the pattern. Every argument creates another counter-argument. Every explanation creates another question. At that point, you don't necessarily need a better argument. You need an interruption, something that changes the rhythm long enough for conscious choice to return. Imagine a record player with the needle caught in one groove. You're not enough, you're not enough, you're not enough. You could stand beside it arguing with the music, or you could lift the needle. Physical interruption can be that lifted needle. So can slow breathing, standing up, walking somewhere else, washing your face, stretching, singing one ridiculous line from a song, stepping outside and feeling the air for 30 seconds. Sometimes something almost ridiculously simple can interrupt a pattern that felt impossibly powerful. Why does physical interruption help? Because repetitive mental states depend heavily on repetition. Break the rhythm, and you create a small opening where a different choice becomes possible. Move your body in a way you didn't plan. Feel your feet on the ground. Wash your face. Stretch your shoulders. Take a slow breath. Look around and notice what is actually here. The goal isn't to run away from your thoughts forever. The goal is to stop feeding the loop long enough to regain conscious choice. Spiritual systems may describe these practices as moving or resetting energy. Psychology may describe some of them as grounding or pattern interruption. The language can differ, but the purpose is similar. Stop feeding the loop long enough to reconnect with the present moment. Place both feet on the floor. Notice 5 things you can see. Relax your jaw, slow your breathing, feel your hands. Listen to the sounds around you. You are reminding your nervous system that this moment is real and the imagined scenario is not happening right now. Once the loop weakens, don't leave the mind completely empty and expect the old pattern never to return. Choose deliberately. Suppose the thought was, "Nobody values me." Jumping immediately to "everyone loves me and my life is perfect" might feel fake, and your mind may reject it. Reach for something believable but stronger. One difficult interaction doesn't define my worth. Someone else's response doesn't get to decide who I am. That kind of thought doesn't deny reality. It creates a healthier relationship with reality. Maybe the thought is, "I'll never figure this out." Instead, try, "I don't know the answer yet, but I can take one step." Notice the difference. You're not trying to hypnotize yourself with pretty sentences. You're training the gate. You're teaching your attention what belongs inside and what doesn't. You are replacing helplessness with possibility without pretending that everything is easy. You don't need to know the entire path today. Sometimes freedom begins with one honest sentence and one small action. Beneficial thoughts deserve energy too. Keep going. Tell the truth. Rest before you burn yourself out. You're allowed to begin again. You don't need everyone's approval to live honestly. Notice how certain thoughts create space inside you rather than collapse it. They don't always make you euphoric. Sometimes the healthiest thought is uncomfortable because it asks you to change. But there's a difference between discomfort that expands your life and mental patterns that shrink it. One feels like a difficult doorway, the other feels like a cage. As you become more familiar with your own inner atmosphere, you'll recognize draining patterns faster. You'll notice the thought before it becomes a story. You'll notice the story before it becomes an emotion. You'll notice the emotion before it becomes a behavior. And that awareness gives you a choice point. The pattern may still appear, but it no longer has the same power. You begin seeing the difference between a thought that challenges you to grow and a thought that repeatedly teaches you to shrink. And then something beautiful happens. The energy that once disappeared into endless mental noise begins returning to you. The attention spent replaying conversations becomes available for creativity. The energy spent predicting disaster becomes available for action. The space occupied by self-rejection becomes available for compassion. Nothing magical has to happen overnight. You simply stop giving every thought unlimited access to your attention. Slowly, quietly, your inner world becomes less crowded. And when the noise becomes quieter, you can finally hear yourself more clearly. So from now on, when a dark thought arrives wearing your voice, don't automatically call it truth. Don't automatically call it you. Look at it. Feel what happens in your body when you engage with it. Ask where it wants to take you. Ask what it wants you to believe. Then decide whether you're willing to go. You don't need to fear your mind. You don't need to become obsessed with policing every passing thought. You simply need to become more awake at the doorway. Some thoughts can pass straight through. Some deserve to stay. Others have been living rent-free inside you for years, rearranging the furniture, influencing your choices, and convincing you they own the house. They don't. You are allowed to question the beliefs you've inherited. You are allowed to release stories that no longer serve you. You are allowed to choose what deserves your attention today. The goal isn't a perfectly silent mind. The goal is knowing who holds the keys when the thoughts come knocking. Your mind will always create thoughts. That isn't the problem. The deeper freedom comes from remembering that awareness gives you a choice. A thought may knock, but you decide whether to open the door. A feeling may rise, but you decide what meaning you give it. A familiar story may return, but you don't have to live inside it again. So guard your attention gently. Choose your thoughts consciously, and remember, you are not every thought passing through your mind. You are the one who notices and the one who chooses what stays.